What's up, friends? This is Manni, and welcome to a huge ship and capital ship size comparison, as well as going into detail explaining some of what these ships are doing. Because have you ever wondered maybe how large ships are going to get in Star Citizen, or how large they could get? I mean, there are ships in the game that are so large that they make the large ship almost invisible next to them. Okay, so this is what we're gonna have a look at here, starting with the smallest unit that exists in the game. Basically a man-sized vehicle called the Atlas, right? The transporter with 2 meters in size. Going further, skipping the X1 from Origin, I didn't include all of the ships and vehicles, but all of the ones that we know that you come across that you'll recognize, okay? So the major ones that we really come in contact with when playing the game all the time. For example, the Dragonfly with 6 meters in length. And by the way, I did not necessarily sort everything just by length, because sometimes a ship can be much larger than another one, even though it's technically a few meters longer, okay? So keep that in mind. The Cyclone being the first 4-wheeled vehicle right here, in fact, having wheels at all, and then coming already the first and smallest flying spaceship, the Fury, okay? It's not much larger than a car, but yo, it can fly, and it is super amazing to fly that thing. Then we have the Orza rover with 7.6, slightly larger than a Fury, which means you can get the Fury into places that the Orza won't fit. And then comes the Razor. Like, now we're actually getting into the size of ships that have a quantum jump, a quantum drive, and can jump around the verse, right? The Pisces being next, 12 meters. Basically, the ship that comes with the Carrack, if we will, right? Then comes the Arrow, one of the first major dangerous dogfighters here in this list so far. This is one of those things, if it's flown perfectly by a really skilled pilot, he's gonna wipe the floor with you, even with that tiny 16 meters thing. Then we have the Blade being barely larger, but then again, much larger in how much space it takes when you look at the comparison between Arrow and Blade. The ground vehicles are still here, and we're not having surpassed them yet. The Ballista and the Nova Tank. Nova Tank 1 meter shorter, but takes a lot more like height and width, so it is a larger vehicle than the Ballista. Then we have the Aurora as the basically go-to starting ship that many people will know. The Wolf that just entered the game, that is kind of longer than the Gladius, but in volume, I think the Gladius takes up a little more. Then we have one of the most popular dogfighters, the F7, specifically the A Mark II military variant. And then the first bomber, the Eclipse, right? A stealth bomber with size 9 torpedoes that can end you in one hit. Then, of course, the Prospector coming next. That is a ship that a lot of people will get in contact with when they're making their first mining experiences. I left away the mining vehicles because they're not really that much difference in size. We're jumping to the Meteor, a medium fighter that is larger than the Prospector, very interesting. And then comes the F8 Sea Lightning and the Ares Inferno, both with very similar size and shape. Then comes the Scorpius that volume-wise may not take up so much space, but with the wings unfolded, it does. Same goes for the Defender. Legionnaire coming in, a ship that is going to be specialized in boarding other ships. It should be able to dock to a ship and eat through the hull, from what I understand. Then another ship similar to the Prospector that a lot of people will get in contact with, it's the Vulture, the first salvaging ship. In fact, the Prospector has an alternative, that's the Golem, that's kind of smaller even than the Prospector. And the Vulture has the Fortune, being a smaller variant, right? Then we have the Cutlass Black. I believe this is the largest starter pack ship that you can get in the game, and it's also a great all-rounder. By the way, this will become the next ship guide, detailed and honest ship guide about the Cutlass Black. Then we have the Freelancer. It's a little longer, a little less wide with the engines, volume-wise more, I would say. And then the Vulcan. What does the Vulcan do again? Oof, I forgot. Is it a repair ship? I believe it's a repair ship, isn't it? Or is it a refueling ship? Then we have the Apollo Medivac that is coming into the game sometime soon. And then comes the Zeus, in this case the ES, the cargo variant, but there are 3 different variants. I didn't bother including them because they have the same shape, right? And by the way, if you enjoy the content, you want to stay tuned, and also for all these ship guides, and like for example, an most underrated ship in the game, in my opinion, the Starfarer. I link it in the top right corner if you haven't yet seen it. It's a great video, it goes into very much detail. If you like that sort of stuff, please stay tuned, subscribe to the channel for more content. And if you are not yet a Star Citizen player, by the way, there's my referral link below. If you use it, you get to start the game with added bonus resources on top, and I also get to have your referral in return. That is fantastic. Alright, so, continuing on, the 400i already topping the size of the Zeus tremendously. By the way, remember, there are ships in between that I didn't include. I just went with some milestones. If I were to include all of the ships, this list in this video would just be way too long, and the differences in size would sometimes be just a few centimeters. And I think that doesn't need to happen. So, we're running the mole after the 400i, I think volume-wise much larger. And then comes the Asgard. In volume, different to decide, but the Asgard being a new ship with a lot of cargo being a very interesting one. Also, the Paladin coming next, coming soon to the game as well, like a heavy gunship for 2 people mostly. 2 people will be operating that thing very effectively. And then we're, coming to the daily drivers, okay? And that is namely Corsair and Andromeda / Taurus. Taurus being more the daily driver in that case. And yeah, both of them excellent ships, and already being in the medium hangar size. We're already in the medium hangar size for quite a while. And then comes the Retaliator, and I must say I was a little surprised to see the Retaliator being so much larger than the Andromeda. But hey, remember, we're just starting out here. The ships we're seeing are tiny by comparison to what's about to come. I mean, so tiny, in fact, you can barely not see them. To the big one, so stay tuned. The Raylan is coming also to the game sometime later, after the Retaliator bomber. A multi-crew bomber. The Raylan will also be an interesting ship, by the way. Then we have the Starlancer Max, being not really much larger than the Raylan. Can you believe it? Like, from the volume it takes up with the unfolded wings on the Raylan. Crazy. Then we have the Starliner Genesis, which is the first ship that I'm sure many of you guys will not know. So I've included the Star Citizen wiki here. The LH-307 Genesis Starliner is a mid-range passenger spacecraft manufactured by Crusader Industry. It has a few different roles. It can be a space warning and control system, or just a freight transport for freight or personnel, or it can be a military transport, like a dropship in some way. So it has a number of uses, and we have a few pictures of the Genesis Starliner as well, and that is a fantastic looking ship. Reminds me a little bit of the gate ships of Stargate Destinies, or maybe the Destiny itself. It has a bit of that shape, minus the front wing part here, but the rest has a lot of that Destiny shape from Stargate. Pretty cool. So yeah, that's the Starliner Genesis. Now you also know what kind of ship that is going to be, in case you have never heard of it. Then comes the 600i, taking up a massive amount of volume. It's basically like a round giant disc with a lot of height to it as well. So that is lots of volume, and a big ship that's getting a very important rework. Then we have the Crucible, which is going to be a repair and refueling ship that we have here. The Anvil Crucible, referred to as the Flying Toolbox. A first company's dedicated repair ship, featuring a rotating control bridge and detachable laser gravitational things. You see it repairing an Idris here with some sort of repair laser going up, and there you also see that rotational bridge. They can just literally turn around and rotate. Very interesting design, and a ship that I don't think is coming to the game in the next couple of months or even year. It will take some time, because they're focusing on ships that the gameplay is already part of the game, or they can be implementing it easily. Next would be the Caterpillar, with an extreme length of 115 meters. Not as much volume though as the C2 Hercules, in my opinion, which is why I placed the Hercules as a larger ship. Both of them being very similar in their use. They're both one of the largest transport freighters we have currently in the game. Then we have the Perseus, also coming very soon, a military gunboat / corvette that is focused around punching above its weight with very heavy size 8 dual guns up and below. I believe they upgunned them to size 8, right? No longer size 7 from what I heard. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. Actually, we can look in here. Does it say that here? It still lists the size 7 double guns, but I heard they upgunned it to size 8. But I'm not exactly sure. But it's a patrol gunship that is focused around dealing with very large threats, like an Idris, for example. Because it gets very special bespoke ballistic cannons. Some of them have corrosive ammunition, some of them have like explosive ammunition or armor-piercing rounds, and so on. So it will be a very special gunboat, or corvette in that case. Then we have the Starfarer, same as the C2, a large transport vessel, but more universal. And it is the ship that I said has a very unique, underrated style, in my opinion, where I've made this ship guide that you find in the top right corner and video description below. Then the Galaxy, also coming to the game not so long from now, a multi-role, modular ship that can have a refinery. It can be base building in the future. It can be cargo. It can be med bay. Lots of different things, depending on what module you put in the back of the ship. The Ironclad is going to be replacing all our C2s, Caterpillars, and Starfarers when it comes to cargo hauling, because this is going to be our largest freight transporter that can still land in stations, dock everywhere, land on the planet, and transport up to, I think, 1,300, 400 or 500 SCU cargo. It depends on which version. The Assault has 1,100 SCU, and I think the regular one here, 1,400 SCU. But the Assault will be able to carry tanks and even have a little repair shop inside. The Hull C is the first of our ultra-large haulers that are currently being used in the game for the largest of hauling missions. Very good ship if the missions work, which for me they have not really done so well. But I know many people are doing it, so apparently it's working. Carrack, exploration ship that we already have, and no, the Arastra coming next. Also not too far away from us, I believe, because RSI ships are being focused on a little more, and this is one of them. It even says it on the side in ridiculously large letters, which is a little unusual, but it's going to be the largest, like, reclaimer-sized mining ship, multi-crew, that we have. Reclaimer being the salvaging variant, and this will be the mining variant in that same size category, I would assume. Then we have the Nautilus. The Nautilus is a mine-laying ship, large military mine layer with fully integrated mine deployment. And for those who don't know, it will get 3 large shield size 3 according to the current script, but that doesn't have to stay that way. It will also have a double size 7 gun turret on the front. I'm hoping it will not be bespoke. That would be so cool if we could literally mount what we want on it. I'm still waiting for a size 6 and 7 ship that have that. But importantly, we have 3 different types of mines already known. The homing mine that will just run after targets, explode and kill them, or destroy them, damage them. Then we have the Nemo drone that's supposedly a drone eliminating drone. It seeks out drones and disables them or whatever. And we have a sentry mine that will set up 2 size 2 guns and defends a perimeter. Okay, so that might be information that you haven't heard before, and since we're talking about it, why not include that bit of information here in the size comparison too. We have the Odyssey coming next. It is a capital-sized, heavily advanced multi-crew explorer ship with its own refinery on board, and the ability to process and gather from gas clouds fuel and convert it into fuel. It cannot mine minerals, but it can mine gases into fuel. So very interesting and super long range, and basically like a thing you send it somewhere and you don't come back for a long time. The Polaris, we already know, it's our corvette, heavy. I would say it's a corvette, isn't it? A heavy corvette, torpedo corvette, basically, what you could call it. It's not the size of a frigate, so it's somewhere before that. And with its heavy size 10 torps that currently, unfortunately, don't work very well, despite being the selling point of the ship. it is still interesting and fun to play with. The Reclaimer being larger than that, being the largest salvaging ship, and then the 890 as a massively super luxurious transportation vessel for ultra-rich individuals or high net worth individuals. Basically like an ultra-ridiculous yacht. The Endeavor is going to be a fully modular space platform designed to adapt to very specific, a variety of scientific and medical tasks. And you have tons of different modules available that you could put in the biodome, the fuel module, the research, science, landing module for like a hangar, medical base, service, super collider, something research thing, and a telescope, okay, for long range space watching, exploration, and stuff. A lot of, obviously, the gameplay isn't in the game yet, so it will take a long time for the Endeavor to come in, but 200-meter length. Then we have the Hull D coming next with a larger length and being able to transport, how much was it, 30,000 SCU? I'm not exactly sure, I could be wrong, but it is an insane amount of SCU that this thing can transport. And I believe the Hull E coming later has about 96 or 100,000 SCU. The Merchantman, a heavily desired ship that will still unfortunately take a while. I've just recently watched a video about this. They haven't begun continuing to work on it, but they might begin to continue working on it next year. Maybe. We'll see. But it will still take a long while for us to get that very highly sought after ship. The Pioneer being our largest base building ship, also space station building ship, coming here with 250 meters and a massive volume, since it's like basically a aircraft carrier from the looks of it. The Idris, though, is larger, is wider, and is more mighty, and that way it sits at 242 meters in size. We have that ship in the game, and it is the currently largest ship we have. Aside from the Javelin, that is also already in the game. In some missions can it be seen. And even the Bengal has made a flyover before, but I'll show them to you in a second. We're already, if we're scrolling out, incredibly large. Like, if we just take a look at the size comparison to the left, you cannot even see that tiny dot anymore, okay? Even here, those are large ships. The Genesis Starliner is a large vessel. Compared to that Kraken here to the right side, it is a tiny little shuttle. And it looks like it could land here. And 270 meters, the Kraken. Unfortunately, the Ironclad series is coming first, even though many people like me are highly awaiting the Kraken. But they're using the assets from the Ironclad to finish also the Kraken faster afterwards, so it still benefits the Kraken, but that thing still, we have to wait for it, unfortunately. The Orion being the largest mining ship that we know in the universe. It is basically a mining ship that's much larger than the largest salvaging Reclaimer variant that we know. So there is no this size in terms of salvaging yet. And the Orion is coming in at 341 meters. Immensely large. I believe it is set not to actually have a refinery, or at least it was discussed, but I can't imagine that's true. I'm pretty sure this huge thing will be very autonomous and can like deep space mining for long periods of time with its own refineries as well. I would be surprised if it didn't get that. By the way, here, this is some pictures of the Pioneer, which I forgot to show you before. Can we please see the pictures? Okay, whatever. Then we have, after this, we have the Hull E, with almost 100,000 SCU capacity that it can carry on these grids that it can unfold. 372 meters unfolded, probably 100 meters shorter when it's not unfolded. Or maybe 120 meters or something like this. But it is an insanely large ship, and it almost reaches the size of the Javelin, the largest available for purchase ship in the RSI store page. And even though it is not going to be made or released to the game in the next couple of months, even years, I would probably say, we will see it in Star Citizen Squadron 42. And it has already made its debut also in the Star Citizen free universe and the persistent universe. It was during various Invictus events. You could fly around it, look at it, even walk through it in certain areas, right? There was a tour for the Javelin that you could make. And it is a destroyer-class vessel. If we go to it, the Aegis Javelin is a destroyer utilized by the United Empire of Earth Navy. Designed as a modular spacecraft, the UEEN could make major conversions for the Javelin different roles than constructing individual specialized capital ships. Javelins are used as convoy, escort, fleet support, orbital fire suppression, reconnaissance in force, and fast interception missions. Surplus Javelins have been sold on the civilian market, which, trivia, this might be the Javelins that we actually buy for $3,000, right? Not the big military ones with fat gear. We might be getting those emptied and unstocked civilian variants. It is a modular ship, and it is very likely that in order to make this an actually force to be reckoned with, a military force, you may have to get a huge number of additional modules for that. I don't like that, but that's what it looks like to me. The ship features a total of 5 decks, each with a variety of crew positions and areas to explore. Also, a little bit of a trivia. It says it has a size 4 shield generator here and 4 size 3 shield generators. Whatever that means, right? 4 size 4 shield generators. For comparison's sake, the Idris has 2 size 4 shields. So this one, the Javelin, it seems to be having twice the amount of shield capacity. This is from the event here, in-game. It seems to be having twice the shield capacity than the Idris frigate that you see here nearby. So you can judge by that how much it takes to fire empty the shields on a Javelin. Also, it will have a quad size 9, I think. Quad size 9 laser gun turret with non-bespoke weapons on top and bottom. This thing can actually rotate around to the back on a rail. Very interesting. In the front, it's supposed to fire there's 2 size 12 missile tubes. On the side, like a battleship, it has size 8, I think, large gun turrets that have the ability to switch to size 4s that are in the turret operated as well. So if you have fighter defense you switch the guns as the turret operator. Very interesting ship. I'm looking forward to this thing. It's gonna be huge. And like I said, the largest ship we can currently buy in the game from all the available ships. It also has a little hangar, but not very big. As you can see, like a Vanguard might fit in there, but it's not going to be a hangar that you can fill with like the Idris, where you can just fill and fill and fill it until you run out of ships to fill it with. So yeah, very, very beautiful ship. I can't wait to look and use this thing. Also, it will have a similar optics inside than the Idris, right? So very much looking forward to that thing. And that is the Javelin with almost 500 meters. It will not be able to dock in hangars because it's too large. The largest hangars we have, they have 300 meters size length, or 280, 250, 300, something like this. And that means a lot of the ships that you have seen here, the Idris might be the maybe the Kraken. The Kraken might be the last ship that could fit into an extra large hangar. Actually, no, I think not. I think the Idris was the last one that you'll fit inside. I think the Kraken will already be too large. But if you have better information, let me know. And after that, basically all ships will no longer be able to dock inside dock directly, like in or land in a hangar, I mean, and then you see this little thing here. You just see the tip of it, and the tip already just completely declasses the huge Javelin, and you're like, what the heck is that? It's huge. Yes, my friends, this is the Pegasus, and the Pegasus, hold on, There it is. The Pegasus, the RSI Pegasus class escort carrier is the Empire's premier small carrier, capable of supporting the operations of up to 32 starfighters from a friendly supply. Typically, it will accommodate 16 Hornets and 16 Gladiators, but the fighter groups can be tailored as mission demands. In addition to the fighters, there are also 2 Argo utility ships on board. If needed, 2 Retaliator bombers can be held in underslung positions under the ship. And of course, we want to look at some pictures. That looks gigantic, this capital carrier. The Bengal carrier is also a carrier. We're going to look at that. And I personally score the Bengal carrier as a larger ship. I will show you why. But the size, the dimensions, and just the sheer length of the Pegasus is insane. That is really beautiful to look at. Also, look at those gigantic, I would say something like size 10 ballistic cannons on the side. Also here on the front, it looks like it could be something like size 10s, maybe even size 12 or something. However, size 12 would be similar to the Idris railgun. I don't think it's quite that large, because the Bengal carrier has those, and they look different. So, very interesting. I mean, it could be size 10 or 11 for that matter, whatever, we don't know. But extraordinarily impressive ship. And is this where the ships will land in? Like, is it... It seems like it has this long hangar style that also the Idris has, where it like opens the gates in the front and back, or here on the side. Is that a person standing there outside? All right, that is fantastic. Very impressive ship. We won't be seeing that in the game for a while, and we won't be able to purchase that in the game for a while. However, I think it has been said that the next larger ship that I consider larger than the Pegasus, even though lengthwise the Pegasus has a few meters more. Actually, does it have? No, it doesn't. It is shorter too. Is the Bengal carrier, my friends. This thing, the Bengal carrier, sorry, let's just go back, is a monster. We also see it in a Squadron 42 gameplay trailer in the space battle. One of them, actually multiple ones, one of them is getting halved by a shot by the kingship. And you see here there's a front hangar entrance, and there is another hangar up here as well with like a airstrip to it. And this thing has on the bottom a triple size 12 Idris railgun turret. Yes, let's have a look at that, my friends. So, that would be the Bengal carrier. The Bengal is a fleet carrier spacecraft manufactured by RSI. Funny that the RSI has made 2 carrier ships that are almost the same size. Why? Yeah, but wait, what does it say? Unknown whether this is a separate vehicle to the Bengal at home. Or is an early model of the same, they say. Okay, could be, I don't know. The Bengal Fleet Carrier spacecraft manufactured by RSI for United Empire of Earth Navy. Bengal class carrier carries multiple squadrons of fighters, bombers, and space support craft, and typically form the nucleus of UEN battle fleet or task force group, which makes sense, because right now in the game we know that many players are stronger using multiple ships of their own rather than all sitting in one ship. So having a carrier, and huge space fleet carrier, is probably a more dangerous threat than, for example, a Javelin destroyer. When out of this thing could like come 30 ships outside, including bombers and so on. It will be more dangerous than one Javelin destroyer, I would assume. However, if you're trying to attack and destroy a space station from a different organization, I'm sure you want the raw firepower of the Javelin than the destroyer's firepower. However, the Bengal, being a completely different size, has also a lot speaking for it in terms of firepower. The massive armaments and extremely heavy shielding make it nearly impossible for any individual craft to threaten them. It is 900 meters in length. It has a C shield generator size 4. I'm not sure what the C stands for, but if we were to say size 4, the Idris already has 2 size 4s, so this C must mean something. It must mean it's a completely different scale of shielding. And that thing looks gorgeous. Holy smoke, this might be the coolest looking capital in all of Star Citizen. I just love the looks of it. And also, This was from one of the events where the Bengal was actually shown in space and you could fly around. And you see the huge triple railgun hanging out the bottom there. It's like a rotating turret. It can turn around. And you also see it firing in the Squadron 42 gameplay trailer, which I just happened to have a reaction to video for. Also linked to the video description below, okay? And, yeah, and there you see the huge turret on the bottom. Jeez. That is just huge. Here's a view of the hangar. And this seems to be the front part of the hangar. Not the one with the airstrip on the top, but the front part, where you see a bunch of gladios sitting there. And here, this looks like the tip of a retaliator that could fly up here, like come up and move to the middle and fly from there, or something like this. Oh God, look at this. Oh, I want to fly that thing. And this could be, by the way, one of the largest ships we're going to be able to afford ourselves in the game, or on the RSI page. I believe it was mentioned that we will probably someday be able to obtain that ship. However, what price, and so on, we don't know any of that. So yeah, this is a fantastic, huge ship. And after that, we only have 2 more ships, of which I can show you one. And this one is so large that the Bengal carrier with its 1 kilometer's length just looks like a toy by comparison. We're talking about the Retribution class Super Dreadnought, okay? This thing has a length of 2,800 meters almost. And I don't even want to know what kind of weapon. Actually, I do want to know precisely what kind of guns it has here. Those huge turrets that are able to rotate, probably similar to the guns underneath the Bengal carrier. This is the type of ship I believe the kingship will have to be afraid of. Okay, the kingship of the Duel. And let's read what they say about the Retribution class. The Retribution class Super Dreadnought is the largest capital ship constructed by the UEE and multiple ship manufacturers to take part in the Duel War. The UES Retribution is the only known ship of its class that has been built. The ship is envisioned by Admiral Bishop as a vital missing... it's him, Admiral Bishop. We also see him in the Squadron 42 trailer. As a vital missing piece of the Navy's ship roster to combat the Duel kingship. Okay? A single Retribution class vessel was built at the UEE Naval Sky Docks on MacArthur and is armed with multiple bearing 130mm ship buster railguns. I don't know what those are, but they sound cool. I'd like to mount some of them on my Fury. Or on something other small. That would be fun. But yeah, so you see we have a length of 2,700 meters, a width of 700 meters, a height of 400. Okay, let's have a look at some pictures, because we do have some here on the dry dock, where it's being produced, and maintenance happens, I'm assuming. This looks like a Bengal carrier sitting in front of the Retribution class Super Dreadnought. You just see the tip of that Super Dreadnought, and then you see the tip of the Bengal that just looks small by comparison. And here it is again. To the right, you see the Bengal carrier under construction, and to the left, you see this immense Super Dreadnought under construction as well. Wow. Holy smokes. This must be MacArthur here, right? Where the Retribution Sky Dock. Oh my goodness, dude. Yep, that is one hell of a ship. However, it is around only half the size, or let's say the mass, of the Duel kingship, of which unfortunately I cannot show you here in this view. It would have similar length, but it would be much thicker. Let me show you the kingship of the Duel before we go and read about it. That is the kingship. You've seen it also in the Squadron 42 battle trailer. In the front, it has like some sort of singularity beam super weapon. Reminds me again of Stargate and the Ori. That is able to basically halve and just cut through large capital ships in one beam. Not powerful enough to destroy a Bengal carrier in one shot when the Bengal shields are full. Because we've seen in that trailer what happens when the shields on the Bengal are full. The beam is being redirected to a different part and hits the ship and drains the shields very hard, but it doesn't instantly destroy a Bengal. But when the Bengal shields were low or off, then it was able to split it in half. And that is the Vandul kingship, my friends. You see here the large Bengal carrier cannons being aimed at it. But remember, the Bengal is a small dwarf compared to that kingship. For the kingship, you want the Retribution class dreadnought to stand against. That's what you need to battle the kingship sufficiently and with sovereign chances of success. That's the laser and that singularity beam that I was referring to. Wow, what an awesome picture that is. Cool. Here is the kingship, 2,800 meters in length. And there are several other Vandul destroyers that unfortunately I cannot show you here in this hangar viewer app. They're not included, but there are several destroyers that are larger than many of the UEE ships. I just realized I forgot to include the Hammerhead in our ship list. I'm sorry. Yeah, so that's the Vandul kingship here, next to a Retaliator apparently. Interesting. And that would be a Perseus. I believe that is a Perseus firing at a kingship, which makes sense. Up there is a Polaris firing its size 10 torps at the kingship, and the Perseus firing its large guns as well. The Perseus is made to punch over its weight class, right? It is meant to fight the highest and largest possible ships. That's what its guns are made for. You rarely ever see a Perseus firing at a small fighter, I believe. I'm not sure what this is. Is this a ridiculous amount of fighters coming out of the kingship? Basically just flooding the planet completely like insects? Crazy. Yeah, so let's read about it. The Vandul kingship UEE military designation. The militaries gave the ship this name. We don't know what the Vandul call it themselves. Maybe something like Hive or whatever. It is apparent flagship of the Vandul clans. It is a dreadnought, fleet carrier, command and control ship, an assault transport combined with a single hull. It is the largest Vandul ship known to humanity, and it is reported to be between 1,500 and 3,000 meters long. And if we take a look at the width, right, the Retribution has 2,700 meter length. The kingship has 3,000 meters length, but while the Retribution only comes to 700 meters in width, this one has 1,200 meters. And in height, from 400 meters on the Retribution, we get almost, well, 700 meters in height on the kingship. So this thing, I guess we could say that you could fit the Retribution class super dreadnought almost 2 times into the mass of the kingship. Alright, so that is nuts. Looking at the size of this ship, consider that you can fit that twice inside a Vandul kingship, basically, or distribute the mass twice inside of it. Very interesting indeed. And yeah, so that is the largest ship. It apparently has 2 of the C-type size 4 shields, so twice the shield capacity of a, I believe it was the Bengal carrier, yes. And the Retribution class ship, we don't know what shields it has. We only know that it has these guns, these 130mm shipbuster cannon railguns. Alright, so that is it, ladies and gents. Again, check out the reviews that I've made, and if you haven't yet played Star Citizen, where you want to get into it, my referral code is down in the video description, pinned comment, so use that would be fantastic, because I really want to get those referrals up if possible. And yeah, if you, and also don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and see you in the next video, my friends. Manni Gaming signing off. Bye-bye.